Hello and welcome to the first episode in the Practical Python series. In this episode, we're going to be talking about for loops. For loops are an essential part of programming. They allow us to iterate through sequences, accumulate values, among many other things. Let's take a look at a typical for loop using Python. Python has its own unique syntax for loops. We see we have for x in range 0, 10. X here is the index. It allows us to keep track of where we are at in the sequence and the loop itself. Range sets up the sequence. Let's first take a look at the in operator. I created a list, which is a sequence of numbers, and assigned a to it. We have 0, 1, and 2. The in operator will tell us whether a value is in a given sequence. It returns true if it is in the sequence and false if it is not. We see that 0, 1, and 2 are a part of this sequence and we get true for all the values. However, when we get to 3, it returns false. The in operator controls when we are finished with the loop, determined by the maximum value in the range. Let's go ahead and print out the indexes for each iteration to see what the range function is doing here. Notice that it starts at 0 and then ends at 9. It's conventional to start range with 0 and then specify the maximum value you would like. Notice that the last value that we printed out was 9 and not 10. By default, range goes in steps of 1. So when we have 0 and 10, we're going to create a list of numbers that starts from 0 and ends at 9. But that is 10 total values. Let's go ahead and look at a practical example. I'll do the calculation of powers of 2 going from 0 to 4. The for loop is set up by for u in range 0 to 5 and then a colon. In this calculation, the index is part of it, so it automatically iterates through by one incrementation, 0 to 4, and that's 5 total values that are printed out. In the last example, we'll use the for loop to accumulate values in a calculation. If you have a base salary of $50,000, how much will you make after 4 years with 5% raises for each year? Because we want 4 years of information, we want the range to be 0, 4. We'll set up the calculation of this new salary based upon saving the previous data and adding the bonus after each year, which is salary times 0.05. Because we set up this assignment value after each iteration, the value will accumulate. We want to accumulate our new salary because we want our last salary to be taken into account on the 5% bonus. Here are the values for each year. If you have a starting salary of $50,000 and get 5% raises after each year, you will end up with $60,775. Here is how the first pass is calculated. The base salary is initialized above the loop, and we get 50,000 plus the 5% times that salary, which gives us the bonus of 2,500. We add that to the base salary, and then we get $52,500. In the second pass of the loop, we use the adjusted value that we just calculated. Then we add that to the bonus. And notice the bonus is larger than it was previously. And then we end up with $55,125 per year. This is why using for loops as an accumulator is very useful. The next two values are generated the same way. The accumulation is based upon the number of passes of the loop, and we're not actually using the index as a part of the calculation. Here's a final note about the for loop syntax. Notice that there are two lines of code underneath this for loop. The code that is part of the for loop is indented relative to that for loop. This is how we signify that that code is part of the loop. So any code that you want to be ran more than once, dependent upon the range, needs to be indented. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you learned more about for loops. Stay tuned for more content, and let me know what you think in the comment section.